Welcome to the Funeral Channel podcast.
It's good to be here.
Okay, I can practically feel the energy shift in the room or, in our listeners' earbuds right now.
hmm
I said the word funeral, and instinctually, a lot of people they want to hit pause.
It's the standard reaction. Yeah.
It sounds heavy, it sounds grim, it sounds like something you only deal with when you absolutely have to, and then you just try to forget about it as fast as you can.
Absolutely. We have this kind of cultural allergy to the logistics of death. We want to focus on the memory or the spirituality, but we really don't want to talk about the paperwork.
The paperwork, the printing.
Another printing, yeah.
Exactly. But I want everyone to stick with us today because we are diving into a topic that is, well, it's surprisingly practical, it's oddly fascinating from a design perspective, and honestly, it's a total lifeline when your world has turned upside down.
It really is.
We are talking about funeral program templates, and before you roll your eyes, the research we've pulled for this, specifically the Essential Guide to Funeral Program Templates and Design, and the deep archives from the funeral program site, it paints a picture of something that is so much more than just a piece of paper.
I think lifeline is the perfect word.
Yeah.
If you look at the source material we've gathered, you start to realize that we aren't really talking about stationery.
No.
We are talking about cognitive offloading during a crisis.
Cognitive offloading. I love that term. It sounds so technical, but it's actually really empathetic.
Well, think about the state of mind you're in when you need these kinds of things.
Right.
We tend to view funerals as strictly emotional events, or maybe spiritual ones. But the Essential Guide makes this compelling case that there are also massive logistical operations that hit you precisely when you are least equipped to handle them.
Oh, completely.
You're grieving, you're exhausted, your brain fog is at an all-time high, and suddenly you have to be an event planner, a copywriter, and a graphic designer, all at once.
That was my biggest takeaway reading through these guides. We always talk about the grief, but we rarely talk about the sheer administrative chaos that hits you like 24 hours after a loss. You're trying to coordinate flights for relatives, you're talking to the coroner, picking out a casket, writing an obituary, figuring out if there's enough food.
The list is endless.
It's endless, and in the middle of all that, you need to produce a beautifully printed program that honors an entire life.
And that really is the crux of this whole deep dive. It's about finding structure within chaos.
Structure within chaos. I like that.
So we're going to explore what these templates actually are, beyond just a Microsoft Word file, why they are essential for saving your time and your sanity, and this is crucial, how to tell the difference between a high-quality tool and a cheap knockoff that is going to make you want to throw your printer out the window.
Oh, the printer rage is real. We have all been there.
Chuckles. We have.
So let's unpack this. On the surface, a funeral program template. It sounds self-explanatory. It's a brochure. It's a pamphlet.
Right.
But the sources suggest it's a lot more nuanced than that. How do we actually define it in this context?
So if we look at the technical definition, which comes from the funeral program site, a funeral program template is a pre-designed digital layout. It acts as a framework or a skeleton.
Okay.
But the key isn't just that it has pretty borders or a nice background. It's about the containers it creates.
Containers for information.
Exactly. It provides designated pre-formatted spots for all the specific data points: the name of the honored, dates of birth and passing, the order of service, any readings or poems, acknowledgments, photographs.
But isn't that just a form? I mean, I could just draw boxes on a piece of paper. Why is the template aspect so vital?
Oh, you could draw boxes, yes. But the expert insight here describes it as a roadmap. And this goes right back to the psychology of grief we touched on.
Right.
When a family's in the thick of it, staring at a blank page is psychologically overwhelming. It's something called blank page paralysis.
I've felt that just trying to write a regular report for work. I can't imagine trying to do it when I'm mourning.
Precisely. You don't even know where to start. Does the photo go on top? Do I list the pallbearers first or last? What about the interment details?
So many questions.
A template removes that cognitive load of decision-making, at least for the structure. It prompts you. It says, put the obituary here, put the song selection here. It's an external brain when yours just isn't working at full capacity.
It's interesting you mentioned the external brain concept because the Essential Guide highlights this dual purpose for these programs that I hadn't really thought about before. It's not just for the family making it to feel organized, it's for the people sitting in the pews.
Yes. Functionally, it serves two very distinct roles for the attendee. First, it is a functional guide.
Okay.
It helps the attendees follow the service. Funerals can vary wildly depending on faith, culture, or even just family preference. Is it a Catholic mass? Is it a humanist celebration of life? A military service?
You never really know what to expect.
Exactly. The program tells people when to stand, when to sit, who is speaking next. It creates a flow.
It prevents that awkwardness where everyone's looking around wondering if they're supposed to be singing now or just listening.
Yes. It imposes order on the room. It lets the attendees relax because they know what to expect. But secondly, and maybe more importantly for the long term, it is a keepsake.
That's the part that really stuck with me. For a lot of people, this one piece of paper is the last physical thing they receive that represents that person's life. It really is a tribute.
It's a historical document.
Uh,
I mean, in many cases, people save these for decades. They put them in Bibles, in scrapbooks, in family archives.
wow.
So the template has to bridge this very difficult gap. It has to be a functional agenda for a 90-minute event, but also a beautiful artifact that lasts for 90 years.
That is a heavy lift for a piece of paper. It has to work for right now and for forever.
It is, and that is why the design matters so much. It's not just vanity. It's about honoring the weight of the document itself.
So we understand what it is and the dual role it plays, but let's play devil's advocate for a second. Why use a template? I have a computer. I have Word. I'm arguably decent at PowerPoint. Why spend the money or the effort finding a specific template? Why not just DIY it from scratch?
Well, let's go back to that blank page paralysis, but let's add the time factor to it. Planning a funeral involves dozens of moving parts. You're coordinating with the funeral home, the officiant, the cemetery, the caterer, family members flying in from 3 different continents. Design should not be the bottleneck in that process.
I found a phrase in the research that I think should be the motto for this entire deep dive and maybe for life in general.
Chuckles, what is it? Don't recreate the wheel.
It is the golden rule here. The argument from the sources is simple. The design work has already been done. It has been tested, refined, and balanced by professionals. When you try to build this from scratch, you are effectively signing up for a crash course in graphic design at the worst possible time in your life. And let's be real about the time difference. The sources mention that starting from scratch takes hours. I mean, tweaking margins, finding the right font, realizing the photo resolution is wrong, struggling with bleed settings.
And that is assuming you even know what bleed settings are.
Fair point. Most people don't until they ruin a whole batch of paper.
Exactly. With a well-designed template, the estimated time to completion is under an hour. Easily. You download it, you drop in your text and photos, and you are done.
That's amazing.
That is 5 or 6 hours of your life given back to you. That is time you can use to be with your family, to write the actual eulogy, or just to rest. And rest in that week is a very precious commodity.
There's also the factor of just forgetting things. I know I'm the type of person who would forget to list the pallbearers or the musical selection. I'd be so focused on the cover photo that I'd just forget the actual content.
That is extremely common. In high-stress moments, our working memory is compromised. A template acts as a checklist.
Right.
You see a box that says officiant name, and you realize, oh, right, I need to write down who is actually leading the service. Or you see a section for acknowledgments, and you remember you need to thank the hospice nurses. It prevents those awkward oversights that you might regret later.
And we have to talk about the DIY disaster look. We've all seen it. I feel bad saying it, but we have.
Oh, we have?
The text is all crowded, the fonts are clashing, the margins are uneven, so the printer cuts off the last 3 letters of the poem. It just looks frantic.
That is the professionalism aspect. Templates ensure balanced spacing.
Yep.
They handle the visual hierarchy.
Visual hierarchy. Break that down for us. What does that mean?
It's a design principle. It means arranging elements in a way that implies importance. The name of the deceased should be the most prominent thing on the page. The dates should be secondary. The order of service should be legible but not overpowering. A good template handles this balance for you using font weights and spacing. When you use a template, you avoid that cluttered, chaotic look that happens when you try to cram too much onto a page without a grid.
It makes it readable. Which sounds so basic, but if you have an elderly aunt trying to read a scripture passage in dim church lighting, readability is everything.
Exactly. It's functional design. It respects the reader.
So we know why we use them, but I was really surprised by who uses them. I assumed, based on the marketing, that it was just grieving families scrambling at the last minute, the 2 a.m. panic crowd.
That's the largest group, certainly. Families with no design experience who need a polished result immediately. But the research shows the user base is actually much broader.
Right, the professionals use them too. Which makes total sense, but I hadn't really considered it.
Funeral homes and churches are huge users of these templates. Think about it from their perspective. They need consistency.
Yeah.
If a funeral home is running 3 services a week, or sometimes 3 a day, they cannot design a bespoke program from the ground up for every single one. They need a library of reliable assets.
So they use templates to maintain a brand standard and efficiency.
Correct. And allows them to offer a value add to their clients without hiring a full-time in-house graphic designer. It keeps their costs down while keeping the quality high.
It also mentions celebrants and event planners, too, people who are hired to make the event look perfect.
Yeah, because they need that high polish in a very limited amount of time.
Oh.
But there's a third group that I found the most intriguing in the source material,
Who's that?
the pre-planners.
This is where it gets really interesting to me. People using these templates for themselves in advance.
It is a growing trend. Individuals are downloading these templates to document their own wishes.
At first, I have to admit, that sounded a little morbid to me. Like sitting down on a Tuesday afternoon with a cup of coffee and designing your own funeral brochure. It feels heavy.
It does at first.
But the more I thought about it and the more I read about the intention behind it.
It shifts from morbid to practical very quickly. It's actually an act of care. By doing this, you're choosing your own readings. You're choosing the photo you actually like, rather than leaving your family to scramble through your Facebook profile from 10 years ago to find a blurry selfie.
Oh, that is a legitimate fear. The bad obituary photo fear.
It is real, but more than vanity, you are offering peace of mind to your survivors. You are essentially saying, I've handled this for you. Here's the file. Just print it. You are removing a burden from their shoulders before they even know they have it.
That is a powerful reframing. It's not morbid at all. It's a final gift. It's taking the blank page paralysis away from your spouse or your children.
And it ensures your story is told the way you want it told.
Now, if we're going to talk about where to get these, the source material is very, very clear. There is one resource that keeps coming up as the gold standard in this specific niche.
Yes, the funeral program site.
What makes them different? I mean, I can go on Etsy, I can go on Canva, I can just Google free templates. Why did the research point so strongly to this one specific site?
The distinction lies in specialization versus generalization.
Okay.
There are plenty of design platforms that sell birthday cards, business cards, flyers for lost dogs, and
Yeah.
oh yeah, funeral programs. They are generalists. They treat a funeral program the same way they treat a menu for a restaurant.
Right. It's just another layout to them.
But the funeral program site focuses exclusively on memorial stationery. They understand the real-world needs of a funeral. They know that paperweight matters. They know that home printers have specific limitations.
So they aren't just making something that looks pretty on a retina screen. They know how it's going to print on an inkjet in a basement.
Exactly. And they offer resources that go way beyond just the file. The source material highlighted something called the Funeral Program Templates and Typography Guidebook.
I saw that. A whole book on typography for funerals. That sounded incredibly niche.
It sounds niche, but it is so vital. It's a companion for design. It teaches font pairing, how to mix a script font with a serif font so it looks respectful and, most importantly, readable.
Can you give an example of why that matters?
Sure. You might love a swirling, elaborate calligraphy font. It looks beautiful for a header, like in loving memory.
Yeah.
But if you try to put the entire obituary in that font, nobody can read it. It's illegible. The guide explains that visual hierarchy we talked about. It tells you to use the fancy font for the title and a clean, readable serif or sans serif for the body text. It essentially gives you a crash course in design theory, specifically for memorials.
That is super helpful. It prevents you from making a design choice that accidentally ruins the experience for everyone. And I noticed they offer support, like actual human support.
7 days a week. That is so rare in the digital download world.
It really is. Usually you buy a file and you are on your own. If it breaks, too bad. But funerals happen on weekends, they happen on holidays. Having customer support that is actually available when the crisis is happening is a major differentiator. They offer customization services too, right? For when it's just too much.
Yes. So if you buy the template and realize, you know what, I just can't handle this right now, I'm too emotional, you can hand it off to them to finish it for you.
That's a huge safety net. Just knowing it's there probably lowers the anxiety a ton.
A huge amount.
Now let's talk about the physical format. When I think of a funeral program, I think of a piece of standard letter paper, folded in half. Standard. Simple.
The bifold. That is the industry standard, yes. Single fold, 4 pages, front, back, 2 inside pages. It works for 90% of services. It's cost-effective, easy to print, but we need to move beyond the bifold because life and services are rarely one-size-fits-all.
The sources list a whole menu of options. It felt like I was looking at a brochure for origami at one point. Let's start with the trifold.
The trifold gives you 6 panels. This is for when you need more space. Maybe you have an extended order of service or you want to include multiple scripture readings. Or maybe the obituary is quite long and detailed. The trifold creates distinct sections naturally because of the folds.
Right, it partitions the information for you.
Exactly.
Then there's the graduated fold. I'd never heard of this one before reading the guide.
Think of it like a file folder system with tabs. You have staggered panels. The paper is cut in a way that when it's folded, you can see a sliver of each page underneath the previous one.
You know, Arthur, that graduated fold really helps break up the text visually.
Arthur.
Who is Arthur?
Oh, my apologies. I was just talking to a colleague about this earlier. A bit of a brain cramp. What I meant to say was, for the listener, that the graduated fold is excellent for categorization.
You threw me for a loop there. I thought maybe I had a secret identity I didn't know about. But yes, the graduated fold, it creates those visible tabs on the side, right?
Exactly.
So you can see obituary, order of service, tributes, all at a glance without opening the whole thing.
Precisely. It's very navigable. It invites the reader to explore the document section by section. It works wonderfully if you have different speakers or different themes within the service.
And then you have the gatefold.
The double doors.
Yes, it opens from the center outward.
This is a more dramatic format. It feels like an unveiling. It's often used for more elaborate services or when the program is intended primarily as a high-end keepsake. When you open those 2 flaps, it usually reveals a large central photo or the main obituary. It has a flair to it. It signals that what is inside is special.
And for the people who really have a lot to say, or maybe for a life that was just too big for a single sheet of paper, there's the booklet.
The booklet is technically unlimited in pages. You staple it or bind it in the middle. If you want a photo collage spanning decades, personal stories from 5 different grandchildren, a full biography, and the lyrics to 3 different hymns, you go with a booklet.
It's like a little magazine.
It's almost a small magazine of the person's life. Yes.
That feels very substantial. It feels like something you keep on a bookshelf.
It is. And then on the complete flip side, you have the single page or the memorial card.
For simpler services.
Or specific contexts. Perhaps a graveside service where you don't want people fumbling with a booklet in the wind. Or just a small card with a prayer and a photo to keep in a wallet.
It's good to know there's a range. You aren't stuck with one format. You can match the format to the service and to the person.
Absolutely.
Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. The tech specs. Because even the most beautiful template with the most perfect gatefold layout is useless if I can't open the file on my computer.
This is where modern templates have really evolved. 10 years ago, you needed specialized design software. Now they've become what we call tech agnostic.
And the big game changer here, according to the sources, is Google Docs.
Absolutely. Google Docs has democratized this whole process.
Why is that such a big deal, though?
Well, think about the logistics. You're at your parents' house. You don't have your work laptop. You are using your cousin's old Chromebook. You don't need to install software.
Right.
You don't need to buy a license for Microsoft Word. You just click a link. It opens in the browser. And it saves automatically, which is a lifesaver if the computer crashes or the power goes out.
Automatic saving is the unsung hero of funeral planning. I can't tell you how many times I've lost work because I forgot to hit Streal OS.
It is. And it allows for collaboration. You can share the link with your sister in another state, and she can upload the photos while you write the text. You can work on it simultaneously. That reduces all those back and forth email chains that get so confusing.
But for the traditionalists or the people who are just used to the Office suite, they still work with the old guard.
Yes, the sources confirm these templates are compatible with Microsoft Word, Publisher, and Apple Pages. So if you are comfortable in that ecosystem, you can stay there. You don't have to learn a new tool.
One thing I want to highlight is the digital nature of the transaction. You download it instantly.
Immediate gratification is necessary here. You don't have time to wait for shipping. You get the file, and it is yours. This implies ownership, which means you can reuse it.
Wait, reuse a funeral template? That sounds a little unusual.
Think about the professional users, the funeral homes. They use the layout repeatedly for different clients. But even for a family, the utility is there.
How so?
You might need to print 50 copies today for the service. Then 2 weeks later, you realize you need 10 more for family members who couldn't attend. You have the file. You just print more.
Or send it to a professional printer if your home printer gives up the ghost.
Exactly. Or, and this happens, you can save the design to use for another family member down the line. It creates a sense of visual continuity in the family archives. The grandfather's program matches the grandmother's. It creates a family brand, if you will.
And sharing. We live in a digital world. Not everyone can make it to the funeral, especially these days.
Correct. Since it's a digital file, usually you export it as a PDF. Once you're done, you can email it, you can upload it to those memorial websites, you can post it on social media.
That's huge.
It ensures that people who are thousands of miles away can still feel like they're part of the service. They can open the PDF on their phone and follow along with the readings in real time.
Okay, so we're sold on templates. We know the formats, we know the software. But I feel like we need to drop a warning here because like anything on the internet, there's the good stuff and then there's well, the junk.
This is critical. Not all templates are created equal. I cannot stress this enough. If you buy a low-quality template, you are buying a headache. You are
Thanks.
buying stress.
So what are the red flags? If I'm looking at a template online, how do I know it's going to turn on me?
Rigidity. That is the enemy. Some bad templates have locked text boxes.
What does that mean in practice?
It means the designer decided the name should be exactly 10 characters long. You try to type a long name or a hyphenated name, and it just cuts off, or it disappears. You try to move the photo box to the left, and it won't budge. You can't change the font size. That is a rigid template, and it will frustrate you to tears.
And margins. The research talked a lot about margins.
Margins are the silent killer of home printing. Every printer has what's called the printer grip area. The edge of the paper where the rollers hold onto the sheet, the printer cannot print in that grip area. If the template design goes all the way to the edge, what you call full bleed, and you print it at home, the printer will just chop off the outer quarter-inch of the design.
So you lose the border, or worse, the first letter of every line. That looks terrible.
Exactly. Reputable providers like the Funeral Program site create print-ready files that respect those boundaries. They account for the technology you are actually using, and they use flexible text boxes where you can expand, shrink, or move elements.
So you want a template that is flexible. You want a framework, not a cage.
Yes. That's a perfect way to put it. You want to be able to drag things around if you need to.
I also noticed the sources touch on design themes. It's not just about the technical layout, it's about the vibe.
It's about matching the personality of the deceased. The template should feel like the person. It shouldn't just feel like a generic government form.
What are the broad categories there?
Well, the sources mention floral themes, which brings softness and symbolism. Very traditional. Then you have scenic themes, water, sky, landscapes, sunsets. These offer a sense of peace and transition.
And for religious services?
Faith-based templates. They have specific pre-designed spots for scripture and religious iconography, crosses, doves, praying hands. On the other hand, you might want something patriotic for a veteran with flags or eagle motifs. Or, and this is becoming more popular, contemporary themes with modern typography and minimalist white space for someone who had a more modern style.
So you really aren't stuck with generic, gloomy funeral. You can match the aesthetic to the life lived. So what does this all mean? We've looked at the definition, the why, the formats, the tech, and the pitfalls. But if we zoom out, why does this matter so much? Why spend almost 40 minutes talking about paper?
It matters because in the midst of grief, we are looking for control. We are helpless in the face of death, but we are not helpless in the face of the funeral. We are looking for a way to do something tangible for the person we lost.
It's the final act of service.
It is. While the logistics of a funeral are hard, these tools exist to lower that stress barrier. The goal is to allow the family to focus on remembrance rather than logistics. You shouldn't be fighting with a margin setting. You should be remembering your grandmother's laugh. You shouldn't be stressing over font sizes. You should be hugging your brother.
That's beautiful. It's about clearing the path so you can actually grieve.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, I think choosing and filling out a template is actually a way of curating the final story of a life. You are organizing a legacy into a tangible keepsake. You are deciding how this person is introduced to history one last time. When you hit print, you are publishing the final chapter.
That is a profound way to look at a piece of stationery. It's not just a program, it's a story.
It is.
Well, I think that gives us plenty to think about. Whether you are planning for a loved one or bold move planning for yourself, there is a roadmap out there for you.
Indeed.
Thanks for listening.